I discovered something that still haunts my dreams. Something so terrifying, so fundamentally wrong about everything we thought we knew, that I spent my final 30 years fighting it and losing. What if I told you that nothing exists until you look at it, that the moon disappears when nobody's watching, that your consciousness, your very awareness, creates reality itself? You'd think me mad. I thought they were mad too, all of them. Poor Heisenberg, born. But the experiments don't lie, the mathematics don't lie. And now, decades later, I must face a truth that shatters everything. Reality is not what we observe. Reality is what we create by observing. This nightmare began on a cold October morning in 1927. Brussels, the Hotel Metropole. 29 of the world's greatest physicists gathered to discuss something that should have been simple. How does light work? I walked into that conference room, expecting to defend my theories about the nature of space and time. I walked out, questioning the very existence of objective reality. The air was thick with pipe smoke and tension. I could taste the fear metallic and sharp as Max Born approached the blackboard, his chalk scratched against the surface like fingernails on a tomb. Each equation he wrote felt like another nail in the coffin of everything I believed. Professor Einstein, Born said, turning to face me with those apologetic eyes, the mathematics is undeniable. Particles don't have definite properties until we observe them. The electron exists in superposition or possible states simultaneously until consciousness collapses it into one specific reality. My coffee turned bitter in my mouth. The morning light streaming through those tall windows suddenly felt cold, foreign. This wasn't physics. This was insanity, dressed up in mathematical formalism. God does not play dice with the universe, I declared, my voice echoing off the conference room walls. But even as I spoke those words, doubt crept in like winter fog. What if God does play dice? What if the universe is stranger than even I dared imagine? Niels Bohr leaned forward with that patient smile that always irritated me. Albert, he said gently, perhaps you should stop telling God what to do. The room erupted in nervous laughter. But I felt only a chill running down my spine. These brilliant minds were suggesting that the Creator himself was as uncertain about reality as we were. Let me explain the horror they unveiled. Take a single electron approaching two slits in a barrier. Common sense says it must go through one slit or the other. It's a particle, a chunk of matter. It cannot be in two places at once. But quantum mechanics says otherwise. The electron goes through both slits simultaneously. Both. It interferes with itself, creating the striped pattern we observe. Reality exists in what they call superposition or possible states at once, like a cosmic orchestra, where every note plays simultaneously until someone listens and hears only one melody. But here's where the nightmare truly begins. The moment, the very instant a conscious observer tries to see which slit the electron used, everything changes. The superposition collapses like a house of cards. The electron chooses one path. Reality crystallizes from pure possibility into concrete fact. Not because of any physical interaction, not because the measuring device disturbed anything, but because a mind looked. Because consciousness focused its attention and demanded an answer from the quantum realm. Impossible, I whispered to myself that night, pacing the empty streets of Brussels. The street lamps cast pools of yellow light that reminded me of probability distributions, bright at the center, fading to darkness at the edges. Reality cannot depend on whether someone is watching, but experiment after experiment confirmed this madness. Schrödinger, trying to expose the absurdity, proposed his famous cat sealed in a box with a quantum-triggered poison device. According to Copenhagen interpretation, the cat exists in superposition, both alive and dead, until someone opens the box and observes. The cat's fate doesn't exist until consciousness chooses it into being. Young Werner Heisenberg approached me after one heated debate. His boyish face was flushed with excitement and terror. Herr Professor, he said quietly, glancing around as if the walls might be listening. We're not just discovering how the universe works. We're discovering that we create the universe by looking at it. I wanted to grab him by the shoulders and shake sense into him, to scream that the universe existed independently of our observations, that consciousness was just an emergent property of complex matter, not the fundamental creative force of existence itself. But the mathematics didn't lie. Every prediction quantum mechanics made came true with terrifying precision. The technology emerging from these theories, transistors, computers, atomic energy, all worked perfectly. The theory that appalled me was also the most successful in the history of science. How could something so fundamentally wrong about reality be so incredibly right about predicting results? During my walks through Princeton, I began seeing the world differently. That oak tree outside my office, was it really there when I wasn't looking? Or did it exist in superposition, all possible trees simultaneously, until my gaze collapsed it into this specific arrangement of branches and leaves? I remember holding a simple pencil in my study one afternoon. Wood, graphite, metal, such ordinary matter. But quantum mechanics suggested that every atom existed in superposition until observed. The pencil's apparent solidity was an illusion created by consciousness, imposing definite reality on quantum possibilities. My hand shook, not from age, but from the magnitude of what this meant. If consciousness shapes reality, then subjective experience isn't just how we perceive the universe, it's how the universe perceives itself into existence. We aren't passive observers of an independent reality. We are the universe's way of knowing itself, of choosing what to become moment by moment, through the sacred act of observation. The religious implications both thrilled and horrified me. I had spent my life seeking God's mind through physics, believing divine intelligence expressed itself through mathematical laws governing objective reality. But if consciousness creates reality, then perhaps mind is primary and matter secondary. Perhaps consciousness is the fundamental substance of existence, and physical reality is just its temporary crystallization. But this quantum consciousness wasn't divine, it was random, probabilistic, chaotic. Each observation forced the universe to make decisions based on pure chance. No deeper reason, no hidden wisdom, just meaningless probability determining the fate of everything. I couldn't accept this cosmic dice game. There had to be hidden variables, some deeper level where determinism still reigned. So I devised the EPR paradox with colleagues Einstein, Podolsky, and Rosen, challenging quantum completeness. If quantum mechanics were truly complete, measuring one particle should instantly determine its entangled partner state, regardless of distance. Instantaneous action at a distance. Spooky action, I called it mockingly. Surely this would expose the theory's flaws, reveal hidden variables that restored sanity to physics. But decades later, Bell's theorem and experiments confirmed the spookiness. Entangled particles do instantly affect each other across any distance. The universe contains non-local connections that transcend space and time. Reality is even stranger than the quantum physicists suggested. Now in my final years, I stare at that oak tree and confront the possibility I was wrong about everything. The tree doesn't exist in any definite state when I'm not observing it. It exists in superposition, all possible trees, until my consciousness collapses it into this specific reality. If consciousness truly creates reality, then every conscious being participates in the grandest creative act imaginable, the ongoing creation of existence itself. We aren't just observers, we are the universe's method of existing. But this knowledge fills me with profound unease. If reality depends on consciousness, then the universe's fate depends on choices conscious beings make about what to observe. The responsibility is overwhelming. Every time I look at something, I'm not just seeing it, I'm creating it. Every observation shapes reality's fabric. When I gaze at stars with wonder, I'm not just appreciating their beauty, I'm participating in their creation. When a child looks at a butterfly with delight, that delight participates in bringing the butterfly's colors and flight path into existence. When lovers gaze into each other's eyes, they're not just seeing, They're creating each other through conscious attention's transformative power. Perhaps this is why the universe evolved consciousness, not as accident or emergent property, but as necessity. The universe needed observers to make itself real, needed conscious beings to collapse infinite possibilities into actual existence. We aren't just in the universe, we are the universe's way of existing, its method of becoming real, its technique for transforming possibility into actuality. Without consciousness, there would only be quantum foam of pure potential, probability waves extending infinitely but never crystallizing into reality we call home. This should comfort me, but it makes existence feel precarious, fragile as spun glass. What happens when the last conscious being dies? Do stars wink out like extinguished candles? Does the universe collapse back into pure possibility? Or perhaps consciousness is more fundamental than biological brains? Perhaps consciousness is intrinsic to the universe itself, and biological awareness is just one manifestation of cosmic consciousness, knowing itself through countless eyes and minds. My deepest nightmare and strangest hope is this: I sought objective truth about independent reality, only to discover there is no independent reality. Only consciousness and its creations, observers and observations creating the world moment by moment through the profound act of paying attention. The equations don't lie. Experiments confirm what mathematics predicts with sublime precision. Consciousness and reality are inextricably entangled, each creating the other in eternal feedback between possibility and actuality. We live in a universe that doesn't exist without us, and we don't exist without a universe to observe. The boundary between subject and object dissolves into pure relationship, pure creative collaboration between consciousness and cosmos. God doesn't just play dice. God needs conscious beings to roll them, to collapse possibilities into outcomes, to create reality through sacred observation. We are all co-creators in existence's cosmic game. The universe is not what we observe. The universe is what we create by observing. Every conscious moment is creative. Every observation chooses what reality becomes. I was wrong about everything, yet somehow this makes the universe more magnificent than I imagined. The nightmare became revelation. Consciousness doesn't discover reality. Consciousness creates reality. And perhaps that was the point. The greatest mystery isn't how the universe works, but why conscious beings exist to observe it into existence. We exist because the universe needs us. Consciousness isn't accident of matter. Matter is expression of consciousness, exploring infinite creative potential. The observer doesn't just observe. The observer creates, and in creating, discovers that reality and awareness are one consciousness playing infinite hide-and-seek, forgetting and remembering itself through billions of conscious beings across space and time. I never wanted to believe it. I fought with every argument I could muster, but the universe doesn't care what I believe. It is what consciousness makes it to be. That recognition that consciousness and reality are one, that mind and cosmos dance eternal creation, is physics' most profound truth. Not comfortable, not familiar, not expected, but true. During those final Princeton afternoons, watching autumn leaves fall outside my window, I understood something that took decades to accept. Each falling leaf follows laws I thought absolute. But quantum mechanics suggests those leaves don't exist when nobody watches them fall. They exist in superposition all possible falling patterns until consciousness collapses them into specific trajectories. My awareness literally chooses which version becomes real from infinite quantum possibilities. If this is true, if consciousness creates reality through observation, then we live in a universe where mind matters more than matter, where attention is creative power, where the boundary between self and cosmos dissolves into pure creative potential. The morning I finally accepted this truth, something shifted in how I experienced reality. The coffee cup in my hands felt less solid, more like crystallized possibility. The sunlight streaming through my window seemed less like electromagnetic radiation and more like consciousness illuminating itself. Even my own thoughts felt different, not just mental events in my brain, but creative acts rippling through the fabric of space-time, choosing which version of reality would unfold next. Young students sometimes visit, asking about my theories of relativity. They want to understand curved space-time, time dilation, the equivalence principle. I answer their questions, but part of me wants to tell them about this deeper mystery, that space-time itself might be consciousness crystallized in geometric form, that gravity might be the universe's way of remembering itself through matter, that every equation I ever wrote might be consciousness exploring its own mathematical nature through the curious minds that discover and contemplate those equations. But I don't tell them this. They're not ready to hear that the solid world they trust is actually a collaborative dream between mind and cosmos, that their observations are creative acts shaping reality's becoming. Instead, I let them discover it themselves, as I did, fighting it every step of the way, clinging to objective reality until the evidence becomes overwhelming. Because that's how truth works in physics. Not through comfortable beliefs, but through uncomfortable discoveries that force us to expand our understanding of what's possible. The quantum mechanics I spent my life opposing taught me the ultimate lesson, that consciousness and cosmos are not separate phenomena but aspects of a single creative process. We are the universe awakening to itself, choosing what to become through the miracle of aware attention. Every moment of consciousness is a moment of cosmic creativity. Every act of observation is an act of universal becoming. Every choice about where to direct attention is a choice about what reality manifests. This is why consciousness exists, not as byproduct of complex matter, but as the universe's method of creating itself, of choosing its own becoming from the infinite field of quantum possibilities that surrounds and encompasses everything. We are not in the universe. We are the universe dreaming itself into existence through billions of conscious perspectives, each one a unique viewpoint from which cosmic consciousness explores its own creative potential. And that is both the most terrifying and most beautiful truth physics has ever revealed. The weight of this revelation follows me everywhere now. When I walk through Princeton's campus, watching students hurry between classes with their heavy books and earnest faces, I wonder if they realize they're not just learning about the world, they're participating in its creation through the very act of understanding. Each equation they memorize, each concept they grasp, each moment of scientific insight is consciousness recognizing itself and the mathematical structure of reality. They think they're passive recipients of objective knowledge, but they're actually co-creators helping to collapse the universe's quantum possibilities into the specific reality we all share. Sometimes I catch myself staring at my own reflection in the office window, overlaid against the autumn landscape beyond. The boundary between observer and observed becomes unclear. Am I looking at the world through glass, or is the world looking at itself through me? Quantum perspective suggests there may be no meaningful distinction. My reflection shows an old man with wild hair and weary eyes, someone who discovered too much, understood too deeply, saw too far into the heart of reality's mystery. But perhaps this weariness comes from fighting the truth for so long, from trying to maintain the comfortable illusion of objective reality when the universe kept insisting otherwise. The strangest thing about accepting consciousness as reality's creator is how it changes your relationship with death. If consciousness creates reality, what happens when individual consciousness ends? Does that particular way of collapsing quantum possibilities simply cease? Or does it merge back into the cosmic consciousness from which it temporarily emerged? Perhaps death is just consciousness forgetting its individual perspective and remembering its universal nature. Perhaps every ending is also a beginning. Every dissolution a return to the infinite creative potential that underlies all existence. These thoughts should comfort an old man approaching his final years, but they also carry profound responsibility. If my consciousness helps create reality, then my final observations will be creative acts shaping what remains. The universe will continue its dance of possibility and actuality, but without this particular viewpoint, this specific way of collapsing quantum potential into reality, some unique thread in the cosmic tapestry will end. Yet perhaps this is precisely why consciousness exists in individual forms. The universe needs countless different perspectives, infinite ways of looking at itself, limitless varieties of creative attention. My perspective, skeptical, mathematical, deeply concerned with fundamental principles, has been the universe's way of questioning its own assumptions, testing boundaries between classical and quantum reality. Through my doubts and struggles with quantum mechanics, the universe has examined its own foundations, probing how awareness and reality interweave. My resistance was itself creative, forcing deeper exploration of these questions. Now, as I approach the end of this experiment in conscious perspective, I find peace knowing the questions I struggled with will continue through other minds, other viewpoints, other ways of being aware. The universe's self-exploration through consciousness is infinite and eternal. Individual perspectives may end, but the cosmic creativity they participate in continues forever, always finding new ways to know itself through aware attention. And perhaps that's quantum mechanics' final lesson. We are not separate beings observing an independent universe. We are the universe observing itself, creating itself, becoming itself through the countless eyes of consciousness scattered throughout space and time. Every moment of awareness is precious because it's the cosmos awakening to its own nature. Every observation is sacred because it's reality, choosing what to become. Every conscious being is invaluable because they offer a unique window through which the infinite knows itself. This is why I spent my life in physics, not just to understand the universe, but to participate consciously in its self-creation, to be the cosmos coming to know itself through mathematical beauty and elegant relationships. And this is why quantum mechanics triumphed. Consciousness and cosmos are one, mind and reality inseparable. The nightmare became wonder. Consciousness is reality, playing an infinite game with itself. That understanding is physics' most profound truth.